All right, looks like we have a full house, so let's get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on an introduction to IBM Watson AI services for the Caribbean. My name is Nabil Nazir. I'm a senior account manager at Newcomp Analytics, and I will be your host today. We have a great session lined up for you, and we hope that you will find the presentation informative and useful, regardless of where you are in your data, analytics, and AI journey. Our hope is to share our knowledge and best practices around artificial intelligence and AI with you so that your organization can benefit from them. Before I introduce our speakers, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. Today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you to the recording as well as the presentation slides after the event is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues. We also invite you and your comments and questions in the questions chat box within the control panel on your screen. If you think of any question for the speakers at any point, just type it in the questions box and I will pose it to our speakers at the end of the presentation. We will also have the speakers who are not actually speaking respond to those questions throughout the presentation. For those who are just joining us, welcome to today's webinar. Your speakers today are Farza Gotz, Data Science and AI Technical Lead from IBM Canada, and Marina Wallace, Data Scientist from Newcomp Analytics, both of them with deep experience on IBM Watson AI and AI services. Before handing over to them, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce Newcomp Analytics. We are a dedicated analytics practice with over hundreds of successful project implementations and satisfied clients across Canada, the United States, and the Caribbean. We hold strategic partnerships with key technology vendors, and we are an IBM Platinum Business Partner, certified in data science, business analytics, hybrid data management, and unified governance and integration. We have offices across Canada, including Markham, Toronto, Calgary, and Montreal. In the US, we are located in Reedley, California. And in the Caribbean, we are based out of the Bahamas. We bring data analytics blueprints, models, and experience from over 15 industries across Canada, the US, and the Caribbean, including the public sector, banking, retail, manufacturing, CPG, insurance, telco, oil and gas, education, and other industries. We do have an impressive team of certified developers, consultants, and senior professionals with multiple years of experience within the data analytics and AI space, and always adding value to our clients' businesses. We focus on what we call the 5 pillars of analytics, and those include BI and data visualization, financial planning and analytics, AI and machine learning, data management and governance, and open source analytics. Our team has got deep expertise and experience in those 5 areas, and these are the 5 areas of focus for Newcomp Analytics. We offer a wide variety of services, and that includes advisory, professional development, training, and mentoring. We are one of IBM's leading providers of training for data and analytics in North America and the Caribbean. We also offer analytics roadmaps, so wherever you are in your analytics journey. We offer managed analytics services where we can take care of your entire analytics environment and your changing needs. And finally, we also help with IBM software licensing and renewals. Our service models are flexible to fit your organization. We have a hybrid project approach, the typical client and consulting team, and this can be managed by you, our client, or by us at Newcomp. We build a lot of proof of concepts where you would share some data or a business case with us, and we prove the idea before you make any significant investments in IBM technology. We aim to be your trusted advisor. We teach clients to think like us, allowing them to build and grow their analytics and AI deployment. Our remote engagement model, especially in such challenging times with COVID-19, allows you to have access to our team across North America and the Caribbean, and enables us to provide you with more options and faster responses. We focus a lot on enablement, as you'll see. We help clients get their new initiatives off the ground, whether it's a data and analytics or an AI initiative, from a needs assessment or analytics roadmap to end-to-end implementation. Our support model is highly flexible. You have the option of selecting prepaid support buckets or get on-demand support when you actually need it. Without any further ado, I am going to hand the floor to our first speaker, Farza. It's all yours.
Thank you. I was trying to unmute myself. I appreciate all of the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Farza Gutz, and I'm here to help you with, talk to you about Watson, AI, and applications, and how this can be applied to your use cases in Caribbean. So you might have heard some of these statistics of like more than 75% of customers want to use self-service. And then less than half of the global consumers believe that the agents that they interact with them, they understand their needs. A lot of times the agents are trying so hard, but they're still having a lot of challenges to, find all of the answers quickly. And 75% of contact center costs are personal related. These are some examples of statistics that show how AI can really impact how customer care and a lot of the processes and the work that we do. And we have many of our brands across worldwide that have trusted IBM and are using our Watson technologies to be able to tackle those challenges. So I have a few examples that I put here to just tell you the experience and the problems that other businesses had, and then how it was solved, and then they saw a lot of value and results in it. And take this with thinking that, okay, so yes, this is an insurance company, and then this is a use case, but how does this relate to me? And can I leverage that in my own business? So CodeObject is an insurance company. Well, one of their biggest pain points was that they had all of these disasters happening, and then many claim requests would come at the same time. So they had a lot of challenge to tackle that. There was a lot of calls to the call center, a heavy load, and then they needed to be able to very quickly understand what are the problems, and then is that the right claim, or is it wrong, and then how, is it fraud, or how should they cover that? So what they did, what IBM has helped them with, and in many similar use cases we have had Newcomb to work with the customer, is to first understand how can we solve the problem. And then they came up with this idea of a virtual agent and a chatbot that would be upfront, but their customers didn't want to go on the website, so they wanted to call into their call center. And then how can we put that virtual agent on their call center to be the first touch point, and also on their website? And then what happened is that the customer would call in, they would ask their basic questions, that a lot of times those are frequently asked questions, and then this virtual agent could answer that. And then if it was not easy to handle, then they would send it to the real agent. This reduced a lot of the pressure and eliminated a lot of the calls that were going on to the real live agent. It also impacted, because the person who's calling, they want to get their answer. So if they get that answer from a virtual agent quickly and they don't have to be on the hold, they also prefer that. And we also see a lot of customer satisfaction improvement from that. So for the results of this company, they could save $1 per minute, which resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars in total savings. And they had 75% reduction in average call time. Then I have this other client reference, which is a different pattern. So the first one was a customer care client-facing use case. Now this one is about agent assisting. So this company, Crédit Mutual, is a French bank that they wanted to improve their customer service, and they feel like they have these client advisors who spend a lot of time on the phone trying to help their customers, and they wanted to help this agent to do a better job. So now, given that they use Watson Discovery and Watson Knowledge Studio and Natural Language Classifier, so all of these emails that come to them, they have daily 350,000 daily emails, and then they have to go through them and respond. So being able to make that with using AI and leveraging natural language processing, being able to help them to just detect some of the ones that are more important, like what are the ones that they need to just approve, what are the ones that they need to like direct them to the triage and to the different parts of the organization. As a result, they can now they could now do 60% faster to do their service. And then also they add us about half of those daily emails just through our virtual system and with our Watson technology. And then finally, my third client reference is Woodside Energy. And this is an expert assist use case. So Woodside Energy is a plant, like has a lot of technicians who would just go in and try to fix their problem. So like, for example, there's this part of the plant that are working, and the technician would need to go there and then be able to find, okay, I want to fix this device. Where is the manual of it? And then how should I find, like, what is that, like the details of that manual, like the piece that I need to find? And they spend a lot of time on searching in their documents. And it's like very technical, advanced documents. But you can imagine in your own industry where there are different technical documents. It might be a very technical, it might be a specific domain. Being able to quickly find the right answer was really important for these guys. So with applying Watson Discovery and Watson Natural Language Classifier, they could get 75% reduction in their employee costs, because now they were, the time that they were spending to find the stuff was reduced. So now they could do a lot more work, and it was really easy and flexible for them. So these are a few of the bigger patterns that we saw in using Watson in our customers. And then also another important aspect of it is that being able to also put a business value on it. So one of the things that IBM has done is to get Forrester to build total economic impact of our technology. So we haven't been part of this study. Forrester has done it for us and talked with our customers about when they have leveraged Watson Assistant, what were the results that they have got. And this is like, there's a full report that you can go through it and then see how it would bring the value to the organization. They have, like, on average, our customers have seen more than 300% return on investment in less than 6 months payback. And then the reason that it can be that quick is because of the technology and the solutioning and how it is ready for a business user. And we have a lot of focus on how it can help you bring that return and on your investment. So having said all of that, I want to just give you an introduction about what are these Watson technologies. We mentioned a few of them through those case studies that I was talking about, but I want to call them IBM AI building blocks, because I believe how we are bringing these building blocks together builds that more complex. And then you saw in each of my case studies, I had a few of the Watson stuff in a different format. Usually enterprises start with the customer care service, but if there's any other area that you want to start with, we and Newcomb are really happy to figure it out with you. And a lot of the times the main pattern, because I have seen customers are asking, okay, so which area should we focus first? A lot of things that we see is the main patterns of customer care are the top ones. So first of all, being able to let your customers self-serve faster. And then secondly, in this COVID situation, in that our customers are not easily like communicating, they're not all the time in the office, in the corridor talking to each other. Now, how can we help our employees also self-serve faster? And then finally, being able to assist your agents or your experts to do their work better. And then you saw each of these patterns coming up in the case studies that I talked about as well. So these are those building blocks that I was talking about. We have many different Watson solutions and technologies, and Watson is IBM's umbrella brand name for the solutions that have all of these capabilities of being able to reason, have human interaction, have cognitive capabilities. And it's not like any solution. We have a lot of solutions that don't have Watson name on it. It's not like we add Watson to everything. Each of these solutions have proven a lot of those capabilities and have gone through those checklists of how it is learning and how it is leveraging the capabilities of cognitive in the technology. So as a starter, like one of the ones that we heard a lot about is Watson Assistant, which helps you to do virtual agent and then being able to respond to your customer. But now to the point that I was making about building blocks, imagine that I want to now connect this virtual agent, in the case of my, my code object example, to my call center. So I would add speech to text and text to speech building blocks, and I will make this a voice virtual agent. Or in the case of my custom domain-specific knowledge model, I might want to do like a custom model with my domain-specific. Let's say in roaming in a telco environment means roaming of telco. It does not mean walking. And I can imagine that each of you now can come up with entities specific to your industry. Being able to now bring a knowledge studio that you can build a custom model and then deploy it on natural language understanding and now detect those custom entities. So there's a lot of ways that we can bring each of these components together. And later on, Marina is going to show us how she has put them together into a demo, a few of them. But depending on your use case, Newcom is happy to figure out what would be the right technologies to leverage. And we always encourage that we start small and expand from there. One other important note is that we can have Watson AI anywhere. So it's important that you are able to have our Watson technologies on IBM public cloud similar to any other vendors. But what makes us unique is that we believe that we don't want to lock you in IBM cloud. We want you to have our Watson technologies anywhere that you want. And we have customers who might want to have it on premise behind a firewall. You can have Watson technologies installed on a layer of Cloud Pak for Data on your private cloud. Or on other cloud providers, you can have our Watson technologies installed on the other cloud providers. Obviously, it would be different pricing and different format. This is a software as a service versus these ones aren't managed. However, it would a lot of times make sense to your use case. And I've seen customers who want to do hybrid. For my customer facing public data, I want to go with the IBM public cloud. And then for this specific requirements with my HR documents, I want to have it on-prem. And what makes Watson different? We can deploy anywhere. Anyone can build it. So a lot of our technologies are for line of business user, and it's really easy to go and build it. And then again, to what Nabil was saying, our Newcom is going to help you guys to learn it. And then there might be things that you want to do it instead of like getting services for it. Or you might be like, well, no, we want the services to happen. So you leverage the Newcom services on that. Another very important thing, this is what makes me proud of IBM, is that you own your data. So I have not seen any other vendor who has the same messaging in the top vendors, that IBM does not use your intellectual property or insights to improve our other services. So you can opt out of our service learning from your data. And I personally am really proud on that because I believe we are in a world that data and insights is very, very important. And the fact that IBM has this position, I think it comes from believing that you really own the insights of your data. And it is ethically, I believe it's really important. And then finally, we have the best-in-class AI. So we have a lot of third-party vendors who third-party reports on Gartner, Forrester that show how we are leading in the market. And Project Debater is one of the latest natural language processing industry-leading stuff that IBM has led. And this is my final chart. I wanted to show you what I meant by that building blocks that I was talking about. So in this example, it's a use case high-level example architecture. A user comes in, asks a question from the chat, the user interface that it might be Facebook Messenger, Salesforce, Slack on your website. They ask a question, and then it goes through a basic orchestration layer to Watson Assistant. It understands what do they need. Let's say the user comes in and says, I cannot log in. It understands that the intent is resetting their password, even though they didn't say password. And now they understand that it says, I cannot log in into my online system. So not online banking system. Now I know that it's an online banking entity. And based on the dialogue, I would respond to them of like, okay, so you need to go here and reset your password. As a next step, let's imagine that there's something in the back end, and I have an example of a DB2 here. So let's say the user comes in and wants to check for something. I want to check if, what is the status of my order? I want to check what is the status of my, my loyalty program. So things that would be in the back end, it would just go and check it. And then, so the customer asks a question, Watson Assistant says, ask a few further clarifications. Can I have your client number? Something else. And then they would give that, and then it would go to the back end, find that information, wrap it into a nice sentence from virtual agent, and then tell the customer, yeah, so I looked up and I found that this is your customer status of your order. Now imagine that the question is not a frequently asked question. It's something that needs to go in and find some further documents. We can have Watson Discovery, which is our search engine, search insight solution, aligned to that. So the customer comes in, they ask a question which is not a frequently asked question, but we have the answer in the knowledge base. So let's say they ask, what is your fees to the credit card if I'm traveling to Europe? And then that goes to Watson Assistant. It's not part of the FAQ question, so it sends it to the Watson Discovery. It searches our knowledge base that we have provided to it. It finds the answer, and then wraps it into a Watson Assistant message to the user. Hey, I looked up on my knowledge base, and I found this document for you. Does this help? And then finally, there are times that you might want to pass it to the live agent. So I have my user come interact, and let's say either they say something like, okay, no, I really want to talk to a human, or it's a topic that for those specific topics, we want to pass it to the live agent. So when they ask that question, then Watson Assistant would trigger that to go to the live agent. And now I can, very easily, smoothly in the same UI, talk with the live agent. And then when the live agent is finished, I can come back and then talk to the Watson Assistant again. And now imagine that you also have more specific domain knowledge, like the roaming case that I talked about, or any other industry-specific knowledge that you want to be able to customize your document understanding. You can leverage Watson Knowledge Studio as well. I would build a custom model, deploy it in Watson Discovery. From a user perspective, nothing changes, but they get better results and they get specific insights to their domain knowledge. And now finally, this can go on and on. So think about having another part of the building blocks, like a Watson Tone Analyzer or Watson Language Translator. So let's say you are in Caribbean, you have customers across the worldwide, and then they come in and ask another question, like in a different language, they ask in Japanese, and you have not built a Watson Assistant in Japanese, you've built only in English. So the customer talks in Japanese, the language is detected, it's translated into English, it goes to Watson Assistant in English, defines the answer, develops the English answer, translates it back to Japanese, and then tells the customer in Japanese. And so imagine how powerful that can be, or having a tone analyzer on top of that. So this list can go on and on. And I also already talked about how you can add speech to it so the customer talks to your platform. And then you can also even have, I don't have it on this chart, but you can even have it with integration with the telephony system. So really think of this as building blocks that you can add. We encourage you to start small and expand, because this is how AI in iterations would learn and improve. And then when you have done all of that, you are able to leverage very complex AI capabilities that would give your system, your organization, a lot of benefits. All right, so having said that, now I'm gonna pass it to Marina to walk us through like further details and show us demo of the technologies and capabilities.
Thanks, Marza. All right, give me a moment here to share my screen. All right. So thank you everyone for that fantastic introduction so far. So I'm going to get into the demo portion of today's webinar. So I want to show you exactly what it's going to look like and what it can look like for your users. So simple Watson Assistant here slide to start off with. This is the foundation of what I'm hoping to show you today, and the real value of adding that chatbot component, both from a customer experience perspective and both from assisting your team and the internal agent assist use case. So you can centralize really your communication. It's really quick to start up and build. very quickly. There's no code required or minimal code required for majority of the functionality, making it very accessible and quite fun, to be honest, for business users to go in and get started. Anyone can build it. Like Farza said, you can deploy it anywhere. We can do hybrid models on-prem and cloud. And then, the really important piece that you own your data. And so an example I'm going to show you today, we've got a customer coming in. I'm going to show you 2 different channels of communication. So you'll get a taste of the voice agent as well as from a web sort of widget chatbot standard perspective. And then I'm going to show you a simple dialogue that a user may have, and then some different endpoints of the conversation, which I think is really important. The first one is, answering those standard FAQ questions, maybe even completing a task for the user. But then, to avoid that dreaded chatbot, I'm sorry, I'm still learning, can you rephrase your question? There's other things we can do to really elevate the customer experience. And one of those is with Discovery, the AI search. So we can search through your knowledge base or through a public website or your own website for answers to questions that we aren't expecting, that maybe aren't as frequently asked, but we can still bring back that answer to the customer. And then also from that point, connecting them to an agent, as well as a couple of other different tools. So just to expand upon that Watson Discovery point briefly, it's an AI search, but it's an insights engine, not just a search engine, because we can really add what we call enrichments to the data. So adding things like not just keywords, but concepts and categories and leveraging other components or building blocks like Watson Knowledge Studio to create a custom domain to really pull those insights from the data, bring them to the user, whether it's an internal use case or an external use case, and connect very, very disparate sources of data from many different locations. All right, I'm going to switch over here to my lovely website demo. So this is a demo of a customer care virtual agent, and it's just to give you a taste of all of the possibilities. It's just a sample of what Watson Assistant can do. So like Farza said, you don't need all of these different components or all of these different integrations. Part of the value of our team is working with you to understand what will best suit your needs and your business use case, and what problems you're facing and how we can leverage these technologies to help solve them. So one of my favorite components just to start off with, our little widget here, is in the bottom right-hand corner. So you can click on it to open up the chat. And this is a really quick start widget. There's no code required. You can customize the branding, you can customize the images, the theming, the pace. You can give it a home screen even if you'd like, and it's all built in. So this makes getting projects off the ground really quick when you don't have to go through a complicated software development project just to get the component on the website. It's all built in and ready to go, and we can customize it. So in this agent or in this customer service assist use case, customers may have frequently asked questions, and that's really the foundation of having an assistant like this. So I come on, I'm interested in this general store use case. I'm a potential customer. I can self-service myself. It says, hi, I'm Jen, the new general store virtual customer care agent. What can I call you? And I'm going to tell them my name is Marina. And this is an interesting feature here because we're giving it context. We're giving it something to remember. And if we put this behind some sort of authentication or sign-in page that maybe you already have or maybe that you don't already have, we could pull this information right from the user's profile, and then we don't even need to ask them. And so what's come up here is an example of some of the user interface components. And these are all pre-built. We don't have to design them. It's fantastic. It's really quick and easy to start. So we can have buttons, we can have drop-down menus, we can put in images. I'll show you an example of a link later. And then we can get more advanced things like webhooks or API calls. So it's a range from beginner to advanced. So wherever you may fall in that, we can assist you in the build in any way that we can. So the buttons are great, especially from a user experience perspective for someone on maybe a mobile device to quick select the option. So I'm going to select About Us. And I'm guessing I'm going to get a little bit more information about who this store is, what they're doing, maybe what I can ask the bot. So it looks like I can ask about where they're located, their hours, and their returns. So that might be something I'm interested in. I might be interested in where are you located? Where is the store out of? And here is a great example of when we can train Watson to know when to ask for more information or when to ask for clarification. So it needs to know which store I would like the location of, because there's a couple of different ones. So I'm going to select Toronto and give it that context. And you can see here we have a link to an external site. So it gave me my answer. We can link elsewhere. If I click this and open it up, it says, oh, hey, here's your Google Maps link. Here's where your location is. So it's really flexible with integrating with just about anything. As long as there's an API call that we can use, we can connect you there. So I got my directions. But another really important consideration when building a chatbot is natural language, and the user not having to change the way they speak to interact with the bot and still get a good answer. And a lot of that comes down to what we call small talk. So saying things like thank you and having responses in there to make it feel a little more personal, to really connect with the users. And someone might ask, the bot, how are you doing? what's going on? And you can see here, it remembered my name, and that really adds to that customer experience when they feel like they are remembered, and that it understands who they are, or maybe information about them, even from past times that they interacted with the solution. If we save eligibility that they go through, or any settings that they set, or any preferences that they have, we can store those in any database. If you have one, we can use that one. If not, we can help you create one, so that we can have a really fantastic customer experience. And that's part of the value that we can add in helping you build your solution. So one of the other things that's very common in these solutions is spelling mistakes. And I make them, everybody makes them sometimes, but we want our bot to be smart. We want it to be able to still give an answer when something is spelled incorrectly or mistyped. So Watson Assistant does have spelling built in. It also has what's called disambiguation. So if I type in something that it's a little unsure about, essentially the AI here is that it's trying to understand what the user's asking and understand the question that the user's asking, so that it can bring it the correct response. So what's fantastic about the disambiguation is that it comes back, I'm sorry, did you mean this or this or this? And it can list out these options to, again, quick select and clarify what the user means, rather than hitting that, like I said, dreaded, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, can you please rephrase your question? It comes back with some options. So there's an example of a spelling error, but something else that I wanted to point out is jumping back on that idea of context. If I previously mentioned the Thornhill store, I want it to know that when I'm asking about hours, that it gives me the Thornhill store's hours rather than the Toronto store or one of the other locations. So I can leave out the context here, and you can choose to have this or not, or store it in a database or not, but it comes back and it gives me the hours specifically for that context variable. Now, I may not ask things the same way as somebody else, and I may not type out a very formal date, like if I want to know the office hours on a specific date. And this is, again, just a sample of kind of the conversational power that Watson Assistant has. But if I say next Saturday, it knows that, that date, it's pulling from my conversation and giving me the correct hours. So for the most part of this demonstration, I've been chatting with the bot from the web component, right? From a widget, I'm typing in, maybe I'm accessing this on a mobile device, but we can also connect with a bunch of other different channels, such as Facebook Messenger or Slack or whatever it may be, SMS. But I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of what kind of a voice agent use case looks like. So some users prefer phoning in, some users prefer maybe texting or using a website, and that's totally okay. So give me a moment here, and I'll show you what an interaction can look like over the phone.
Hello, I'm Jen, the Newcomb General Store Virtual Customer Care Agent. What can I call you?
Steve.
Hi, Steve. How can I help you today? 1. About us. 2. Our locations. 3. Start a return.
What are your hours tomorrow?
We are open on Wednesday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m.
And I'm going to hang up. So what happened there, which I think is really neat, is this is the same chatbot that we're interacting with in front of us on the screen here as calling in. So, you know, I asked one of the hours tomorrow, and it knew that tomorrow was Wednesday because it pulled that from my voice. And so you're not stuck interacting with it in the same, you know, push 1 for this, push 2 for that, which you totally can. If you want to keep the conversation very structured, we can do that. But if you want to have it, you know, be more natural and pick up when people are saying different things and understand what they're saying, we can do that as well. So far we've shown kind of some FAQ questions, but the assistant can also be really useful in doing other things like tasks. So pushing and pulling information from a database. So something someone may want to do is start a return. So I'm going to select yes, please, start a return for me here. And it's going to take me through a series of questions of information that it needs to collect. And again, if I was logged into an account, maybe it could pull this information up for me already, but I'm not. So it's asking me for my order number. And it's quite sophisticated here, as we do have error checking built in. So if I type in something completely random that doesn't follow the structure of the answer it needs, it can reprompt me again. And so I'm going to give it an order number here. And I'm also going to give it my email address. So if you pop over here to a demo email account I have set up, I have no emails in it as of yet, but I want to start a return. I gave it my order number. I'm giving it my email address. And then what it's going to do is actually confirm to me that you know, a return label has been sent to my email. And you can see there's a 1 in the inbox, and I've received the email with the return instructions. And we can have this set up for branding, whatever it may be, return labels, whatever process you have in place for that, we can integrate with as well. All right, so one more example I think Farza touched upon earlier was checking the status of an order. So I want to do that. I want to check the status of an order. And so this is showing a quick connection with a database. So again, this is a sampling, so it's a very small database, but I have a few orders here, a very small number of orders, and I've got some statuses for them. And as a user, I may want to know the status of my order 5-6 times a day. And you know, if you have something like this up, the assistant won't get annoyed with the user, won't get tired of answering the question. So it can give them, you know, the status of their order at any point in the day. So I'm going to give them an order number, and it's making a call to the database, and then it's bringing back the status, wording it nicely for our users in a friendly conversation, and actually completing that task. And in this step, you know, I was very good. I was a good user. I followed what the developers had laid out. I answered all the questions very nicely. But what if I don't do that? What if I ask something else? So I'm starting off with, what is the status of my order? But now I'm going to do something, what's called digressing. I'm going to ask another random question, like what are your hours, before answering the question that it laid out to me, you know, what's my order number? So I'm going to digress away. And a lot of other competitors' assistants don't handle this very well or very elegantly. But with Watson Assistant, you can add it on or choose, you know, on or off wherever you need it or wherever you want it to answer the user question. So it gave us our hours, and then it brought us back. It says, I still need the order number to give you the status of your order. So it answered my question. It allowed me to digress and ask a random question out of what may be considered the standard order for this flow. And then it brought me back, which is a pretty neat feature in my opinion. So the other thing I wanted to point out is going back to that keeping the conversation natural. What if you give more information than it needs right off the bat? So before, you know, I said track my order, said what's your order number, I gave it my order number. But if I'm a user that gives it all at once, I want the assistant to be able to handle that. So I'm saying track order number, and I'm giving the order number in my sentence. So what we want here is we don't want the assistant to ask me again, you know, what the status or what order number I'm looking up the status for. I want it to be smart. I want it to know that the information or the context has already been given, so it doesn't need to follow up. All right. So the next thing I wanted to show you was Watson Discovery. So we've touched upon this before. If somebody types something in, which is bound to happen, everyone likes to play with chatbots and test out what their limits are. But if somebody types something in that we haven't built into the bot, if we haven't told it how to respond to before hitting that classic "I'm sorry, I don't understand," or even connecting to an agent, we can have Watson Assistant search any sort of website, web crawl, knowledge repository, so PDFs, PowerPoints, HTML, whatever it may be, and we can have it bring back an answer. So an example of that is if somebody asks, what happens if something is recalled? So I didn't build an answer into the solution for this, but what I told it to do is look up the answer. So I'm telling it to search its knowledge base, look for something useful, and bring it back. And you can see it brings it back in a card, and it can bring back 1, 2, 3, a number of different responses depending on how accurate it thinks the results are. But it's giving me my answer. It's saying what to do if a product is recalled. I can show more. I can even link to where I told it to search. And this is actually where I directed it. I directed it to the recalls and safety alerts for the Government of Canada website, so it can pull through each one of these pages and web crawl to find the answer for the users very conveniently. And all of these components are built in, so you don't have to develop like React components for cards or links or the show more, show less. All of that's completely built in and ready to go. So another example, wording something slightly different just to show the power of it. So I asked, what happens when something is recalled? But if I, word it slightly differently, other solutions may get confused with this, but how do I know if a product has been recalled? Slightly different question, slightly different response come back. It says, want to know more? We issue an advisory or alert, means our surveillance tools are working. So it was able to differentiate even the very subtleties of those two questions and bring back an accurate response. And the next component, like I said, this is a sampling, so I want to show you just a sample of all of the different things that we can do. It doesn't mean that your assistant needs to do all of these things. We can work with you to figure out what the best components are. But translation is a big one. It's a very important one because it opens your solution up to so many more users. So an example of this one I have is the user comes in, or they see a sign in your store that's in a different language they didn't understand. So just to show you how we can integrate translation right into the bot, I'm going to copy in some French and tell it to translate it to English for me. Now this is a very small use case, but as you can imagine, there's so many possibilities with this. We can translate documents internally. We can translate the chat between even like live, real time between a human agent and the user. So if your agents only speak one language and you get a user that comes in that speaks a different language, we can say, just so you know, we're using a translation service. But if you want to proceed, we can translate the messages between you and our support agent to get you the help that you need. All right, so it is inevitable that somebody will come into one of these solutions and maybe not be as happy as they can be. So I'm sorry to my poor bot here, but I'm going to say something negative. And as an analytics company, data is very important to us, and this includes feedback. So there is a built-in analytics tab that we can use in Watson Assistant to see, the coverage and effectiveness of the bot, or we can add on some extra metrics using our advanced analytics on top of that. But just from a base perspective, if somebody says something negative, we want to hand them off to a human. We want to have that connection. They want to speak to a person. A certain percentage of the users are always going to want to speak to a person, and that's totally fine. So it's saying, I apologize. Would you like to speak to one of my humans? So I'm going to say yes. Yes, please. And then we've integrated this with Zendesk here, which is one of the built-in integrations, but we can integrate with any live agent platform. Again, as long as there's an open API that we can use. And I'm going to request an agent. So it says my request is sent. I'm number 1 in the line. I got a little ding over here on my demo account, and I'm going to accept the ticket. And so now I'm the agent. I am now the customer service agent, and I can seamlessly interact with my users. So if I say, hi, how can I help you today? and I send this, and I go back to my assistant, you can see I'm live chatting with the agent. So this is customer service agent Marina, and then this is client Marina. I can say, you know, I have a question about one of your products. And it's okay if I misspell things, but I sent it back. And it's a full connectivity integrated right with the platform. Doesn't need to be this one, it can be anyone. And then we can give the agent help. We can switch over to that agent assist use case and, you know, provide them with additional information like the whole conversation history. We can see what questions they've asked. We can see things that they've said. So that can be very useful. And from here, this kind of ends my demo from the perspective of the user. But I do want to switch over to this agent assist component, because this is a very valuable part of the product as well. It's not just for answering customer questions or completing tasks like order number or status, or, you know, pushing and pulling emails, pushing and pulling information from databases. We can also provide assistance to our agents. And like Farza said, it can cut down costs, it can cut down time on the phone, it can get people their answers quicker. So it is something to highlight. So I'm going to switch over to this pre-built demo. And this is a bank customer service portal that was built for this agent. And you can see I'm going to hit play here, but I'm going to talk you through it. So what's happening here is the customer is asking these questions. They're coming in and communicating with the agent, but the agent here.
Sorry, Marina, we cannot hear the voice of the demo.
Yep, I'm just speaking through it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No worries. So you can see that it's providing the agent with assistance right live, right here. It's checking the social security number right during the conversation. It really shortens that time if they have to go look something up, or if they're checking a birth date, or whatever they may be doing for their customer. We can support the agent by getting them quicker. So there's a message that's going to pop up here shortly, and this shows that the customer here, you know, this is a long-winded question. This is a longly worded question. They're saying, you know, I looked at my monthly statement, something seems wrong. I spent 2 weeks in Italy, and I had to use my silver credit card for shopping, but you know, I see extra charges on my statement. I'm not sure what those are. So this long worded sentence, and I'm sure you know, if you have a customer support platform, you have lots of these. You have probably thousands, stacks of you know, emails and transcripts, and all of these can be leveraged to train Watson Assistant. But we can also extract insights from them. And so in this example, not only uses, like, you know, Watson Discovery and Watson Assistant, but an add-on that is Knowledge Studio. And Knowledge Studio is very closely coupled with Watson Discovery. So like Farza mentioned before, if you have a specific domain knowledge or use language that you want to teach the assistant, we can do that. So we can extract summaries from the database and display it to the user. We can pull up confidence of maybe PDFs or documents or supporting things that would take the agent time to go out and find, and we can surface them very quickly to the agent to support them. And you know, we can pull out other things as well, like call details and response times, and use things like Tone Analyzer for sentiment. But this is just a great example to show, you know, we spent all of this time talking about the customer care component, but the agent assist component is also pretty powerful. And yeah, so before I hand you back off to Nabil, I just wanted to introduce one of the offerings that is currently underway for Watson Assistant or Discovery, and that's the COVID offering. So there's an example here, the city of Austin, and this is basically kind of a starter kit to answer real FAQs about COVID. So I'm gonna, this is just an example of another user interface. I'm coming in, maybe I live in the city, but this is live. So this is an actual live user, or a live Watson Assistant that you could go on the website and see if you really wanted to. But you can see it's pre-built coronavirus information, so getting updates, local news, where to get screened, all of that things that your customers may be asking, and we can work to personalize it for your use case. So I'll let Nabil talk a little bit more about this, but I wanted to introduce it as it is a great offering.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marina. Thank you so much for the great demo and the great presentation, and thanks again, Fauza. I'm just going to make myself a presenter here. All right, perfect. So just like Marina said, so IBM is partnering with government and state agencies to offer Watson Assistant to allow citizens to self-serve around frequently asked questions for COVID-19. And essentially, what the offer is, it essentially allows Watson answers your questions around a variety of COVID-19 topics, such as like symptoms of coronavirus, coronavirus versus different illnesses, testing locations, building business and school closings, as well as relevant CDC information. This program is called the Emerge Smarter program, where Watson Assistant is offered for free for 60 days, and you get access to a team of IBM specialists assigned to you within those 60 days to build and deploy the chatbot in your environment. And this is essentially what the offer looks like. So you'll get, you'll get started for 60 days with no fee and no commitments at all. And there will be some IBM specialists that will help you set up that chatbot within your environment. And the solution actually becomes live within a couple of days. It includes the initial setup and the configuration. And then eventually, they also provide you with crowd subscription support, right? So if you want to look at quickly at what this timeline looks like, you will within the 60-day engagement, it includes like an introduction and onboarding exercise. The Watson Assistance instance gets deployed. The team provides you with an overview of Watson Assistant, walks you through a testing cycle, and also shows you how to update the intents and entities within the solution. And the team is also able to provide you with support for the remaining days within that 60 days, right? So if you have a good use case, specifically around COVID-19, or another use case that you would obviously like to test out within those 60 days, and you would like to take advantage of this offer, please reach out to me. I will be sending you the slide deck as a follow-up. And you can reach out to me and we can obviously get you set up on that 60-day offer. Before I let you all go, I just have two final slides. I just wanted to highlight something here. From a newcom perspective, we do offer analytics boot camps, which are half-day one-on-one sessions with our experts and with your organization, where we help you learn various topics such as APIs, data lakes, machine learning, and tools for working with today's complex data environment. So this is also something that you can actually sign up. When I send you the slide deck, you can essentially just click here and sign up for those sessions. Lastly, during these challenging COVID-19 times, we are running an ongoing event which is called the Newcomp Office Hours, where you can book a complimentary 1-hour session with our experts, and you bring your data analytics use cases and challenges for us to discuss and brainstorm. Our only requirement for this complimentary hour is that we expect about 4 or more people from your team to join for that 1-hour interval. And once again, when I send you the slide deck, you can actually book this session here, and we can get started on that with you. That brings us to the end of today's webinar. Thank you very much for joining, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you.